Welcome to the Stop Over Drinking and Start Living podcast, where high-achieving, goal-oriented rebel women come to learn how to live a vibrant and fulfilling life without requiring alcohol to get through it. No labels, no judgments, no saying you'll never drink again. Just real proven methods to help you stop rebelling against yourself with alcohol so you can drink less and do more. I'm your host, Angela Mascenik. Let's dig in. Hello, welcome to episode 106, an interview with Patrick, the Stop Drinking Coach for Men. Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited for y'all to listen to this interview that I was invited to be on with Patrick Fox. Patrick is a colleague and certified life coach who helps men stop drinking. And his podcast is called the Rethink Alcohol podcast. I'm going to link up how to subscribe to his podcast and how you can get in touch with Patrick in the show notes of this podcast episode. But have a good listen. Plug in your earphones, go for a walk, and listen to Patrick and I explore the benefits of stopping over drinking or stopping drinking and, how we both discovered this work for ourselves. I hope you enjoy.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Alcohol Rethink podcast. We have another very awesome guest on with us today. Her name's Angela. And Angela is a certified life coach. She has a speciality of working with women to stop over drinking and start living. And she's a host of the wildly popular podcast, Stop Over Drinking and Start Living, which has just had its 100th episode. So that's something to scream and shout about, no doubt. Now, Angela, I got to know you around maybe a year or two ago. And you were actually the one who inspired me to go into this path of work, especially with helping guys to stop into drink, right? And it's pretty awesome. And I love the way that you work and the message that you're giving out for women who want to stop over drinking. So I'd love to introduce you, Angela Mascenik, and also just to find out a little bit more about what your experience was of stopping over drinking. And I think you don't drink at all, right?
Yeah, I don't drink anymore at all. But thank you so much for having me on the podcast, Patrick. And I didn't know that I inspired you to be a stop drinking coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me how I inspired that. I'd love to know.
I think I saw one of your, well, I don't think, I know exactly. Do you find we do that? We go, oh, I think, when we clearly know what it was.
Right, yeah.
I saw a post that you'd put up about what you were doing. And it was at a time in my career where I was really unsure of where I was going. It was not long after I'd stopped drinking myself as well. So I was going through a lot of that processing that you have to do when you stop, right? Because you have the mental clarity starts coming back to you slowly.
Yeah.
And it was at that point. And I remember seeing you had posted about what you were doing. And I went away. And I was actually hanging out the washing, right? This is how it happened, hanging out the washing. And I just thought, I help guys stop drinking. And I just felt like a flood of emotion in my body. Wow. And you can't ignore signs like that. Yeah. Now, for guys and emotions, this is something we can talk about during the podcast, but you have to listen to what's going on. So yeah, from that point on, I was like, this is who I want to help. This is what I'm here for. This is my experience. So let's jump straight over. What was your experience? Yeah. What led you to stop drinking and do what you do?
Yeah. Well, I love that. It just, I got the chills when you told me that story too. When you just know. So basically I hired my own life coach. I joined the life coach school. And I was going through the work of stopping over drinking and losing weight and all of those amazing transformations. And, I knew that I wanted to be a life coach during that transformation. When I got to a certain point in that journey, I'm like, you know what, this is what I want to do. I want to help people in the same way that I'm getting helped right now with, uncovering their shit, solving the underlying issues to why I was over drinking and overeating. And then I think it was right before I went to certification, I decided, I'm like, I really want to focus on the drinking aspect because I had such huge transformations when I stopped. And I just knew that if I could do it, I could help other women just like me do it. So that's what I've chosen since the very beginning and just went all in on it. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely got some more questions.
Yeah.
But just to like pick up on that point, when you stopped drinking, that's when you started to notice a lot of transformations start happening in your life. And I think that's true, right? Because alcohol, it blocks us, doesn't it? We
Yeah.
don't have that life experience because we are using alcohol to numb out effectively,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the point that you realized that I don't want to drink anymore? Like this just isn't working in my life.
Yeah, it wasn't until I was like 6 months in the process. So like I joined the life coaching program in January of 2018. And then by June of 2018, I was like, I think I'm done with drinking. So when I first started, I took a long-term break. So I went like 90 days without alcohol. I didn't say I was going to go 90 days. At that point too, I was also working on losing weight. And so my goal was I'm not going to drink until I lose this excess weight. And because that was something that was always blocking me. Like I had overeating issues, and every time I would drink, I would overeat, and it would just keep me stuck time after time after time. And I remember my coach said, you just have to be willing to do things you haven't done before. And I'm like, you know what? I've never really evaluated my relationship with alcohol. Like I've said I didn't want to drink during the week, or I've said I've gone on, little detoxes and things like that, but I haven't really evaluated the relationship with alcohol. So I said I wasn't going to drink until I lost my weight. And I made it about 90 days. And during that 90 days, I had so much clarity. I feel like miracles happened in that 90 days. Like I feel like a veil was lifted from my life. Like I felt so good, clear. I was creative. I was listening to the birds chirp in the morning, like watching the sunrise coming in through the trees, like all of that amazement that was happening at that time. And then I actually went back to planning my drinks, and really, I mean, it was very limited. Maybe it was like a drink or two once a week, very, very small amount. And I did that for a while. And then finally, I remember the last time I had a drink, I was out to dinner with my family, and it was a glass of rosé, one of my, one beautiful glass of rosé, and it was summertime and all that bullshit. And I remember having that glass and then walking out to the parking lot with my family. And I was so fuzzy, like from one glass. And I'm like, I think I'm just done. Like I didn't really enjoy the taste of it. It put an immediate veil back on my experience that I was having with my family, and I didn't like that. I like having a clear mind. Like I had gotten to that point of clarity and connection and remembering conversation, like so much growth from what the work that I did previously. I'm just like, I really just don't want it. Like I just don't want it. And I haven't drank since. So it wasn't like this big, like, aha thing. It was just like, I tried not drinking. I healed a lot of myself in that time. And then I moderated a little bit. And then I just got to the point, I just didn't like the taste. It was doing nothing for me. Nothing. It was like, I can't compare. It was like, having like, for me, like, I don't really drink like hot cocoa or anything. It just doesn't do anything for me. So I'm like, why do I want to do that?
Yeah. That's so fascinating. So like initially it wasn't even about stopping drinking for you. It was about the weight side of things. And it wasn't until you'd done that you realized how much alcohol was impacting your life.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's the kind of bubble that a lot of people live in because of the way society is and the way we're brought up. Like drinking is just the norm, right? Like it's really standard, isn't it? So we have no way to look outside of that because we never have.
Yeah. That's how it was for me. Like I did it for so long. I mean, all through college, heavy partying, very similar to you. I see your pictures, your old pictures on Instagram.
Oh yeah, we like to party.
I've got all those pictures too. I mean, I was a partier. It was my life. I remember I would not be friends with people that didn't drink. I didn't even let my little bubble expand out of it. You know what I mean? So I would judge people and think that they were boring if they didn't drink. And so like I had all of these beliefs and thoughts about people that didn't drink or very rarely drank, and I just didn't get it at all. So I get it now. It's amazing.
Yeah, I can completely relate. Like, I was the dick who was trying to get people to drink who said they didn't want to drink. Like I was so engrossed in that whole alcohol bubble,
Yeah.
it really, it's so strange just looking back on like how different life is now, like without alcohol. And like you're saying, like you like the clean mind, you like the clean thinking. Like, I
Hmm.
don't even like getting sick because it makes me feel so different. I can't
Yeah.
even imagine drinking or taking drugs anymore because,
Right.
it just
It's just
withdraws you
not
from
fun.
life.
It's just like, I feel like I've done enough of it.
Yeah.
Like there's not one experience with alcohol that I haven't had. I'm like, I'm ready for more experiences in my life. I feel like when I look back at it now, I'm like, that was just kind of boring after a while.
Mm,
It was the same bullshit every weekend, same sort of like end of day, drinking a glass of wine, trying to de-stress from the job and the kids and everything like that. And it's just like, that gets boring after a while, doing the same thing over and over and over again. Now I have way more adventures, way more excitement, way more growth. It's just so much more far interesting than, ooh, what's my favorite glass of red wine that I can pair perfectly with some bullshit steak or something.
yeah. No, exactly. It's like you're lying to yourself, aren't you? You're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is fine, this is fun, what I'm doing. But like for
Yeah.
me, I just knew something wasn't right. Like I just wasn't really. It became monotonous actually going out and drinking until the alcohol kicks in, of course, and then like
Right.
takes over.
Yeah. It just becomes like when you're in that cycle, and I was for so long. And no judgment to people that are still in it, by the way. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
totally get it. And like 3, 4 years ago, I would have been like, yep, it's so much fun to go out and bar hop and go to wineries and all of that stuff. And I would have loved all the wine memes, and I can't get through homeschooling without wine. Like I would have loved all that. So, there's no judgment here, but, I don't even know what I was going to say, but, anyway, it's just so much better. I feel like there's so much more dimension to life. I try new things. I put myself out there for bigger challenges, bigger physical activity. And it's a lot more vibrant than that pattern of numbing and thinking that you're having fun and lying to yourself when you're hungover the next day and all that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. And on that point of no judgment, it's like, yeah, like you don't know what you don't know. So if you've only
Mhm.
ever known, like I started drinking when I was 14, 15, taking drugs as well. Like I just didn't know any other way of life.
Yes.
And of course not you can't know what not drinking is like until you try it. But then of course you're like, no, but that's not what I do.
Right. I think too, like this is what I love the contrast that I've had. So I had all of those years of drinking and overeating, and now I don't have that. So I know the difference. And I think
Mm,
that's why I love it so much. People that haven't had the struggle, that never really overdrink, it's hard for them to understand. There's not that big contrast. But when you move through that and go to work and do that process for yourself and healing yourself and getting over that addiction, like you feel magical. Like, do you feel that way? Like you notice the little gifts that are given, like the birds chirping or the sun rays coming in, like so much more than if you never had gone through that. Does that make sense?
yeah, 100%. Like even just the smells, like my sense of smell is so much better
Yeah.
than it was as well.
Yeah.
Like going
Yeah.
for walks in the park, like yeah, there's a lot more presence to where you are
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah. Like you're just so much more thankful for all of those little gifts than you would have been if you never went through that journey.
Yeah.
So I
And
think that people that do it are just total badasses. Like they're special, like they are very special because they know that contrast. And if you're able to get there, it's like la la land, I think.
mm. Yeah, I think it's a superpower as well. My little motto is it's like progressive defying. It's a fucking superpower. Like that is what
Yeah.
sobriety can offer you because,
Yes.
you just begin to realize that there is so much more that we can do that we're capable of that
Yeah.
alcohol inhibits you. It, like both in your health and whatever else goes on in your lives.
Yeah.
What do you think one of or some of the big reasons why people are so resistant to not want to try going sober or stop over drinking?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I hear the most often is that they're worried that their life is going to be boring and not fun.
Yeah, which
Like
is
they
so
can't,
funny.
they think like their automatic brain is like, they think they're going to be missing something. It's
Mm,
been the part of their identity for so long. By the time people come to me, we're talking at least a 5-year struggle, sometimes 20, sometimes 30. You know what I mean? So like they've been
Yeah.
struggling with it for a while. So like it's hard to imagine that for them to see their life in any different way. And they've created this belief system around how alcohol adds joy and fun and liveliness to their life, or they can't imagine not relaxing after work with a glass of wine or with their friends on the weekend. And
Yeah.
so it's really hard for them to get that you're not going to be missing something. Just like I said before, for me, it's like I wouldn't even be friends with people that didn't drink. I thought that they were boring. Like it's the same thing for them. Like they can't see it because they've never done it.
Mm.
And so I think that holds a lot of people back.
Yeah. And it's that whole scarcity versus abundance mindset, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like we become so focused on what we're missing out on, what we're going to be losing,
Yes.
and then the brain doesn't want to flip to the other side. It's like, oh, no, 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 this is what we're going to get. But we
Yeah.
don't know what we're going to get because we've never had it.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like it takes practice. It takes patience. And I think this is why you find a lot of people very stop-start with this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because
It takes more than a couple weeks or a month to like really figure it out, and you're probably the same way how you coach your people, and you coach men, right? Like to stop drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you have to be willing to do the thought work and change the way you think about the areas in your life along the way. Otherwise, it's like you're just taking your only fun thing away and then you're left with this shitty life.
Yeah,
And
it
it's just
is.
not very compelling to keep going forward when you don't change your point of view about different aspects of your life.
Yeah, and one thing I find is like, I don't know, for guys especially, we get very fixed on what we do. So
Mm-hmm.
like, this is just who I am. Like we get very attached to the story and, all of those associations that we have in life. Do
Mm-hmm.
you find there is much difference when you're working with women on the reasons why they want to stop or struggle to stop, perhaps?
No, I think that they just like by the time they come to me, they just recognize that they're not happy with their relationship with alcohol and they've tried all the things. They've read books, they've listened to podcasts, they've, dabbled in this, program or that program. But I think they recognize that it's not really going to change until they're really ready to dive into it and like
Yeah.
really get to the reasons why they're drinking. And I think they know that it's not just about the alcohol. I think there's part of them that know that and they're just like they're willing to like take that risk and dive deep into it and commit to themselves. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, because kind of like men and women, everyone thinks it's super different, but really it's the same stuff, but just
Yeah.
it presents in different ways.
Yeah. Most of my
Um,
clients' main issues with drinking are what they think, what happens at work. Like that's a big one, like stressful jobs. They come home, they carry their stress with them, they get anxious, they've got high demand jobs, and then they come home at the end of the day and they want to use wine to relax. Another issue is like their relationships. If there's been a relationship issue with like a parent or a spouse or something like that in the past or currently that causes them a lot of grief, then they drink from there. A lot of times like women's like empty nesters, like kids, that transition of when their kids go to college, that's another sort of big pain point in their life. They are trying to find their new identity and they start drinking a lot more from that place and they get caught up in a loop. And then too, another thing is just the weight loss, like, struggling with weight and being on diets their whole life and trying this thing and that thing and restriction and so much focus on that stuff has, caused them to go back and forth and back and forth. So those are some of the bigger main areas. And then just their own self-image, like what they think about themselves is not good. When you do overdrink, I think that's a really big area is like the shame that they have when they overdrink causes them to drink more. Do you find that with your people? Like if they say they're not going to drink and then they not end up drinking, the
yeah,
free
100%.
shame load that's there, it's like does not help them move forward. So we talk a lot about that is like healing yourself and what happens when you do overdrink and using it as an opportunity to learn about yourself and why you did it in the first place instead of, oh, we got to start over at day one again.
Yeah. It's like we use it to punish ourselves.
Yeah.
Like it's such a cruel method to work with, isn't it? Like having that blame and shame, and then like, well, I'm just going to drink because whatever reasons, right? It's
Right.
it is one of the biggest things to get out of. I just something you said there about for women, a lot of times it's weight loss as well. I think that's true for guys as well, but they're just
Really?
not going to want to come out and say it. Yeah, like
Yeah.
definitely for me as well. That's my experience.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that alcohol was impacting my weight for sure, and like my levels of fitness and things, and other
Mm-hmm.
guys as well. But for blokes, we don't necessarily want to come out and say, oh yeah, I want to lose some weight.
Right.
And kind of like identify that alcohol might be one of the reasons why we're struggling with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know for my husband, you know, he just gets influenced by me just because we live in the same house, you know. But he basically came on board after, you know, 7 or 8 months after I went through the work, and he ended up losing a shit ton of weight, really cut back on his alcohol consumption. And, you know, he loves it. Like he loves not overeating when he's drinking, you know, because he doesn't drink that much anymore. So he's not like into that snacking mode. And like, I feel like it's just kind of like old habits with like back in college when you would drink so much and then order a pizza at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, right. And then wake up and have a can of Coke, and then eat the
Yeah,
leftover pizza if there was any, or go out for a
right.
greasy breakfast.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's fun. I don't even really eat foods like that anymore at all.
Yeah.
Like it's just not on my radar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what do you think some of the biggest learnings for you are in working with women to helping them stop over drinking? Like, because I know for a lot of people in the beginning, it's about taking a break from alcohol. And quite
Mm-hmm.
often that changes. It becomes actually, I don't want alcohol in my life anymore.
Yeah.
What do you notice?
Well, wait, can you ask the question again?
Yeah, like what do you know? Like, what are the biggest learnings in helping women stop over drinking, and like when they
Yeah.
go through that process?
Yeah. So when they first join my program, I try to help set them up for success right away. So most women just want to cut back on their alcohol consumption, and they're willing to be in the program and question their whole relationship with alcohol, and like then decide what that looks like at the end of my 6-month program. So in the beginning, it's just about learning how to honor their commitments that they've made to themselves, creating a drink plan, creating a food plan. If you want to exercise, put it on your calendar, follow through with basically what you said that you're going to doing. So you can strengthen that muscle that you have, that when you say you're going to do something, you follow through on it. So that's like what we work on in the very beginning. It's just like trusting yourself. You know, like if you say you're going to have 2 drinks or no drinks, that is what happens. And so
Mm,
I help them work through that. That's probably like the beginning work. And then I think that this is what's different from like non-life coaching type diet programs or detoxes, is like what I want to help them do is change the way they're thinking about themselves and their capabilities, that they can do that. So I want to help them increase their belief system in themselves that they can accomplish whatever they want to set out for. And when we do that, they start to feel better about themselves, and then they're less likely to want to numb out with alcohol or food.
yeah.
Does that make sense? So like it's a
Yeah.
process. Like we get them set up, trusting themselves, drinking less, doing the things that they want to do. And then we work on their thoughts about themselves, the areas in their lives that are triggers for them to want to escape or numb. And we change that so they start feeling better and want to escape less.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah,
you?
so true. Yeah, I think that they want. Well, hold on one second. We, yeah. What was the? So it's like it's bringing that intentionality into
Yeah.
everything, right? Like that is the skill, right? Being
Mhm.
intentional. But I think for a lot of people, they want to look at alcohol as the problem. Like the
Yes.
reason I can't stop is because of alcohol. And what I
Yes.
love about the work that we do is that it's like, no, no, no. Alcohol isn't the problem here. What we got to look at is what you're thinking, what you're believing, what you're trying
Yep.
to avoid feeling a lot of the time.
Yep.
Because like the more I do this work, and I love it, is helping people to understand that the relationship that they have with alcohol is just a mirror of the relationship that they have with themselves. And that
Yes.
is just collated with a bunch of thoughts, you know,
Yeah.
like stuff that we learn from a really young age that actually is just kind of not serving us whatsoever
Yeah.
these days, right?
Yeah. I think for looking at, people want to think it's the alcohol. And of course, part of it is, right? Alcohol is
Yeah.
addictive, like it's a drug. But when you put the focus on the alcohol, you don't take responsibility. You don't take ownership of your own shit and you blame it on the alcohol. So it's
Yeah.
easy to be like, well, it's the alcohol's fault that I, yelled at my kids, or, I slept in, or I didn't get my exercise in, or I overate, right? Instead of you taking ownership of that. It's like, yes, you drank the alcohol, but what was going on with you that led to that act of drinking? That's what we need to take responsibility for.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's like there is the alcohol addiction. There's of course all of that dopamine release that we get, but
Yeah.
they're the thing that I want to help guys with, especially, is just to notice the addiction we have to our thoughts, to the
Mm-hmm.
impulses that we have around alcohol,
Yeah.
and that absolutely requires you to take responsibility and ownership for what you do.
Yeah.
Not everyone
Yeah,
wants to do that.
I would say like alcohol doesn't just jump in your mouth. I mean, you
No.
still have to make, even when you've already been drinking, you still are making decisions to drink more. Yes, it's harder because your brain has this drug in it now, but it doesn't mean that that's impossible. You can still decide I don't need to have any more.
Yeah. And that's why I believe like anyone can stop drinking. Like that
Yeah.
is not the problem at all. Like anyone can stop drinking.
Yeah, well, we just look at like rehab or something, right? Or outpatient treatment programs. They go in, they get off alcohol. They
Yeah.
can't do it. Then what happens is they don't have the tools to manage what they're thinking and how they're feeling and their triggers that they have in their life. They don't have a skill set in how to manage that. So it's easier just to go back to the alcohol. You're not addicted at that point. It's all in your head, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that's very controversial, by the way, but I don't really care.
Well, look, I mean, your results that you're getting with for your clients is just evidence of that in the world,
Yeah.
and it's true. And I think this is the shift that we're seeing potentially, uh, not necessarily in our industry, but definitely in the alcohol
Yeah.
realm, and people stopping drinking. People are beginning to realize that this isn't actually the alcohol as the problem, as we were saying. It's more the mindset, the way that we think about alcohol. This is what we've
Yeah.
really got to go with. And knowing how our brains work, we don't want to look at that stuff because it's work, right?
Yeah.
Like it does take effort, it does take practice,
Yeah.
but it's
I
so
think that's
worth
probably
it.
another reason why people are held back from diving into this work is like they just don't want to go there.
Mm,
They really just don't want to look at what they're thinking, and because they're scared of the pain that's going to be revealed. They're
yeah,
scared of like their future feelings. They don't know this, right? I do, just because of this work that I do, but when they think about how I'm describing, like, come join my program, we're going to dive into your thoughts and feelings and you're going to
yeah,
stop drinking, right? Like people are like, what? I don't want to do that. They just want to follow like a plan or a program, be told what to do and make it easier. They do not want to dive into their pasts and what they think about themselves and their relationships and evaluate all that. Like that sounds terrible to some people.
yeah. Terrible because we believe it's all true.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's fascinating and it's easy. Like when you can see that it's your own thoughts and feelings, you can easily change that stuff. It's not hard at all. It's not complicated, but it does take a willingness to feel uncomfortable about it.
yeah,
But we're
definitely.
already uncomfortable, right? Like that's what I tell people. I'm like, you're already uncomfortable. You're over drinking all the time. So that's really uncomfortable. You're just kind of switching it to being a little bit uncomfortable, but you don't have a hangover the next day.
Mm. Yeah, and that's what I say is like it's no worse. Like you're not going to
Right.
feel any less uncomfortable, and actually you're going to feel less uncomfortable if we're like you just say, because when you're not drinking, you're not hungover, and you're not having
Yeah.
all of the alcohol withdrawal, all of that
Right.
shame, all of that guilt. Yes,
Yeah.
it's still uncomfortable, but like it's nowhere near as bad as continuing to drink.
Yeah. Yeah. Your brain just like, I think people, when they're trying to make these decisions about doing it or joining a program or getting a coach or something, it's like, their brain is just like, that's going to be awful. At least I know this awful. I know what I'm in and
Mm,
it's familiar, right? That sounds unknown. And of course our brains don't like that, right? Like they don't like, I can understand what you're trying to tell me, what the process looks like, but that's scary. Like that is unknown territory. And yes, I know like I'm already uncomfortable, but I'm not willing to like go into the unknown there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So we love certainty, right? As human
Yeah.
beings. So we have certainty in what we're doing, even though it makes us feel like shit. And there's
Hmm.
so much uncertainty about what we don't know.
Yeah.
And we kind of use that against ourselves.
Yeah. I like to say that you can decide to just know what that experience is going to be like. You can decide to think that it's going to be the most amazing thing you've ever done in your life right now, even though there's no evidence of you having it. You can just decide what it all is going to look like,
Yeah.
which is so fun, right?
It is. I think it comes back to what you're saying about people thinking that not drinking is going to be boring or not fun. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, are you kidding? Like you can create so much, you can learn so much, you can do so much. Like it really is amazing what is
Yeah.
possible. It really
Yeah.
is. Do you notice that there is more of a like collective consciousness in the world of people wanting to stop drinking? Do you think more
Um,
people are becoming aware of the effect of alcohol?
I mean, I feel like they are because it's in my world and it's what I
Yeah,
hear every day from, my emails and my podcasts and stuff. But then I read articles that are written about the uptick of women drinking in this pandemic. And then I think, no, people aren't wanting to cut, you know what I mean? Like the collective world and like our alcohol use. I don't know that collectively people are starting to go there. What do you think?
I think it's slowly happening. You've just got to look at the alcohol industry, right? The amount of
Yeah.
alcohol-free beers that they're making available for
Yeah,
people
that's
now.
true.
I
Yeah.
think that's maybe an indicator because, they're not silly. Like they've been
Right.
making a lot of money out of people drinking for years, and now they're like, I don't know for sure, but perhaps they're recognizing that people want to drink less, but they
Hmm.
still want to drink. Like they want to have the zero beers or whatever
Right.
they've got,
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. And like, there's just more of us, like life coaches or people helping people stop drinking appearing. So I
Yeah.
think it's like it's creating that container where people can go and find out more about not drinking. So there's
Yeah.
more options available.
I think you're right about that. I think there's more options available for you to discover exactly what kind of path you want to take with whether you go the AA route or you go the coach route or you go the, sober recovery path or you join an online program. Like there's so many different options that you can have on this journey, which is a great thing, you know? I don't know if it's quite mainstream, but
Oh no, it's definitely not mainstream. I do.
which I like. I'm like, you know what? I like not being mainstream.
Yeah, I think it will be soon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about is it millennials like not
Yeah.
drinking and stuff. I don't know
Yeah.
how true that is either, but like I do think it is changing. I think it's going to be slow to change. Like just look how long alcohol has been around in our human involvement, right? Like since the beginning of time almost.
Yeah.
So it's going to be one of those things that slowly changes.
Yeah. I think too, like the mommy wine culture, you probably see this on Instagram and whatever, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's a lot of call outs on that stuff right now. Like people are saying, no, you can't, I think there was did you see that campaign with Tropicana juice that got pulled off of from the market?
I didn't, but it sounds like it's going to be terrible.
Yeah, so like they used some celebrity influencers to market this spiked juice. And they gave these marketers little like undercover refrigerators. So one of them looked like a hamper, like a clothes hamper that you would put your laundry in. And they
Yeah.
put it in their closet and they filmed these influencers sneaking away and drinking undercover from
Jesus.
their family. And like it was this whole marketing campaign. One of the coolers was disguised as a toolbox that they had in their garage. And like all of like people like me, like influencers on the know, like that's bullshit, that's dangerous. You're not, like, it is not okay to go, like if you're hiding your drinking, that should be a sign that there's an issue. We do not need to be pushing people hiding their drinking habits, right? So they pulled that marketing campaign off and
Yeah.
ceased it. So I think when I see stuff like that, I'm hopeful. But it's scary to me that we even got there in the first place.
Yeah.
That
I
was even
mean,
allowed to get through to be passed. I mean, this is no joke. Like when we see those images, when women, men see those images and they're kind of struggling with it and they're like, oh my God, if they're sneaking around, it's okay if I sneak around. I used to have those thoughts. I'm like, I should be able to drink. I'm working, I got all my shit together. I should be able to drink every night. And I would convince myself after seeing that shit that it was okay, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
I get pretty
Yeah.
fired up about that shit.
Yeah, and that's that whole confirmation bias, isn't it? It's just like
Yeah.
reinforcing our belief systems about alcohol.
Yeah.
Definitely. And especially just being able to do the work and getting everything that you need to do, get done, being able to take care of the kids. And like, yeah, we do find as many reasons as possible as to why it's okay. Like, we're very good at justifying.
Yes. So good at it.
Yeah. And okay, so what final words would you like to offer to our listeners today about changing their relationship with alcohol?
I would just say, just be willing to explore it. Like, if you're here listening to Patrick's podcast, it's obvious that you're curious about making changes, or you're in the middle of making changes. And I just want to tell everybody that, like, it's worth every amount of effort, time, and money that you could ever spend to feel the way that we feel, right? Like, we feel so amazing that we've changed our career paths and what we do to help the world, because we know what is possible. And that is available to everybody that wants to take on this journey. You don't even know what is possible for you when you do this. I had no idea that I would become a life coach that helped women stop over drinking. When I went into it, I would say, look at what you're thinking about the journey. Coach yourself and tell yourself that you are opening yourself up to multiple possibilities. My thought when I first started was, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited to find out.
Yeah.
And I took that with me through that journey. And my mind was open to seeing all of the different possibilities for me. And I was paying attention. When you go into it and you do this work and you're like, this is going to suck and I'm going to be miserable, that will be your experience. So make sure you get some coaching from Patrick on, on
definitely.
making sure that you have fun on this. Like, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be challenging. It can be the most exhilarating, fun thing you could ever do. It's just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can change so quickly. Like, I think about, for me, the day before I stopped drinking, I didn't know I was going to stop drinking alcohol.
Wow.
Like, it was I was aware that alcohol was a problem in my life. Like, I wasn't enjoying drinking, but until the day that I stopped, I didn't know that I was going to stop drinking.
Wow.
And like, that's how quickly it can change, And for me, I said I was just going to take a break from alcohol. I was going to do the 1 year no beer. Within 100 days, 3 months, right? Similar to you, like 90 to 100 days, it just became so obvious that, like, I just don't want to reintroduce this back into my life anymore.
Yeah.
So, some great tips. Just one final question for you. A question I picked up I really like. Like, what does it mean to be ridiculously human to you?
Ooh, it's a good question. Well, ridiculously human means to me that you are open to feeling all of your feelings and all of the experiences and rainbow of emotions that are available to you. So to be ridiculous in that, to me, it's like you really welcome sadness. You welcome feeling insecure. You welcome anger, frustration, fear, doubt, as much as you welcome love and happiness and joy and adventure and amazement. To me, being in a human place now where I'm open to experiencing all of that makes me ridiculous, because it just makes me like want to go bigger in my life. When I'm willing to feel all of that, it makes me have big audacious goals that are ridiculous and dream ridiculousness and all of that.
Yeah, so good. And it comes back to that whole curiosity, right? Like, not judging these feelings for what they are, but just being curious as to why you're experiencing them, and then deciding what you want to do with them. Like, because we have a choice about all of it.
Yeah. We're
And we
always
forget sometimes.
Yeah. Super cool. What about you?
What does being ridiculously human mean? I think it does. It comes down to feelings. It comes back to having that full spectrum of emotions and not having judgment for having them. Like, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be disappointed. But when you get to that point where you're just continuing to create the suffering of those emotions because of what you're thinking, then that's where you got to draw the line. So to be ridiculously human is to be present, is to be in touch, is to understand who you are, who you want to be. You don't even have to know who you are. You just have to know that there is something possible for you in the world, and then like getting out there and doing it, right?
Yes, so good.
Yeah, you know that. Angela, it's been awesome having you. How or where can people get in touch with you?
Probably the easiest way is to go subscribe to my podcast on iTunes or any podcast player. It's Stop Over Drinking and Start Living, and you can just search for that. Or you can go to my website, angelamascenik.com, and you can sign up to receive my top most popular 3 podcasts that will be emailed directly to you. And then, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram and all the places. So
wicked. What of those 3 top podcasts, what one would you recommend?
Ooh, so one of the most popular ones is an interview that I did with one of my clients. Her name is Amy. So it's called Interview with Client Amy. And we talk about her experience in doing this work. And for some reason, it's the most popular. People want to know real stories about, in real lives that people have changed by doing this work. So I think everyone likes like a good before and after. And that's what's in that podcast episode.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on and being our special guest for today. Guys, have an amazing week, and I'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
That was so good, right? Patrick is amazing. Highly recommend that if you have a male in your life that is questioning their relationship with alcohol. I get questions all the time about somebody like me for men, and Patrick is definitely the guy. So go check him out. And I am now enrolling for my own program, Stop Over Drinking and Start Living. The link to get all of the details is in my show notes here in the podcast. Just click through, watch the 3 short videos, read through all the information, and get your applications in. I am super excited to announce that we have added some live exercise classes within my coaching program by 2 of our members who are certified fitness instructors. We're going to do a weekly yoga and a weekly high-intensity workout that'll be live and fun, and I'm going to be participating in doing all of them too. So it's just another added bonus for you if you are a member of the Stop Over Drinking and Start Living coaching program. And if that entices you to get your application in, do it. See you there. Bye.